Hi, I'm high, and so we're gonna get started. And look who's here, baby girl. You baby girl, you let me just pick you up. Look, you're here. We love you so. She's gonna like, I'm happy. Oh, what a wonderful way to start a video. The CEO makes an actual appearance. And I also decided, instead of having that blank space there, I have a lovely artist friend, Joanna Paz. I'll put her link to her artwork down in the bio, because she did that lovely piece, that painting, portrait of Lily Bell, for my roommate's birthday. And she did an excellent job. I in on my Instagram, I'll show the other artwork she's done. She has a painting called Wandering Elephants. Um, so I have that of hers. Sadly, it's not here. It's in storage. My mother's. I don't know how to get it back, but while I had it, I treasured it. um, just as I treasured this. And I also asked her if we worked together at the time, and I asked her if one of our coworkers, colleagues, whatever, um, I was friends with her as well. We were both friends with her as well. And she was going through a rough time. And she has these two wonderful dogs, a pug and Heinz 57 dog, which make the best dogs. I mean, I love all dogs equally, but don't buy them from breeders. Please stop doing that. You're actually killing dogs when you buy from breeders, and not all breeders are humane, ethical. There are Amish breeding puppy mills, and they're genetically modified to just usually have usually have a higher incidence of illness and deformity. And it's just stop. Adopting a dog isn't about you. It's not about. Um, it's not a trend, and it's not your out. If you have allergies, don't get a dog. But don't be like, ooh, I want, and I have the money. I can't imagine how you get the money, but you'd be surprised at what people will spend their money on, even if they work at an animal shelter. Um, yes, my mother worked at an animal shelter, and she still she used to breed dogs. She used to breed Yorkies, and I was young. I was a teenager at this time, so the the problematics of it to me, I wasn't aware of what a not good thing that is to do. There are plenty of dogs, beautiful dogs and cats, and all sorts of animals who need homes. And there are plenty of purebreds too, because unfortunately, like I said, they modify an animal, any being, fuck with its DNA. Come on now, we're better than this. Anyway, I don't want to get too off track, but please don't support breeders. Don't support breeders, or pet stores that that sell pets. Please don't. Always go to an animal shelter or sanctuary, because sanctuaries are getting so full that they have networks now, new farms, new sanctuaries opening up around the country to take some of these some animals because everybody else's farm sanctuaries, rescued animal sanctuaries are flooded. And they can only take on so many animals, and of course it's a struggle, a daily struggle to have the funds to do that. I got to find it. But anyway, um, let's get back to the other friend of ours who was going through a rough time, and she had these two lovely dogs, Peach and Peaches and Michiku. Peaches and Michiku. I think it was Peaches and Michiku. And they looked like their names. Pug, Michiku. I know I'm not saying that right, but it's as best as I can do. And then the Heinz 57 dog, Orangey, just as friendly, and they loved each other. Peaches and Mochi. I'm just gonna stick with Peach and Moki. That's what it was. Peach and Moki. Sorry there. Peach and Moki. That's who it was. That's who they are and were. Well, I don't know if they still are. That was 10 years ago or so. But wonderful dogs. And so I asked Joanna. Either I had taken a good picture or I'd asked this woman if she had any good pictures of Peaches and Mochi. Is it Mochi? No. Did I say Mochi or Mochi? I think I said Mochi. This is getting much more complicated than I thought. I'm struggling already. And she did a wonderful portrait of them. And I still have a photograph of it. So I will try to remember. Well, no, I will somehow add that photo. Plus, I had a great photo of this. And the wandering elephants painting that I was so honored to have. It's just beautiful, and she's a lovely. Well, look on her website; it tells you everything you need to know, and you can purchase her art. And she has been shown. I think she was out in New Mexico now, and she was in California, I believe, and I think maybe she moved to New Mexico. And so her art's been shown in galleries there. I think it's beautiful. If I had the money, I would invest in more of her art because it really speaks to me. I, yeah, it just really speaks to me. So anyway, I will put those down in my Instagram stories or post after this because I've told my friends, I've given friends, some of my cat loving friends, or you know, guardians to any animal, any companion animal. Why am I doing? See, this is CPTSD. I can't just say something quickly and precisely. I have to add a whole bunch of other stuff to try to make you understand me because nobody understands me. It's trauma. Anyway, I'll link that in the bio. I'll link her website in the bio, and I will also post those her paintings because she just does a lovely job. So anyway, I thought that's usually where my calendar is, and I didn't think you wanted to see my calendar, even though it's the calendar I get a year from Equine Advocates, and they take in abused. Oh, I won't get into it. Anyway, they're a horse sanctuary. And so, I'll probably show you all the nothing I do. Yeah, there's nothing on there except my work hours. But anyway, that's what's usually up there. But I figure you don't want to see my calendar. But I thought maybe this time, especially because you got, she's gonna be okay. Right. The doctor said you didn't need any painkillers, and as someone who limps a lot, I disagree. Because I know when I'm limping, I'm in pain. Well, I'm in pain all the time anyway, but if I'm limping, I'm really in pain. Now, she plays, and she let me pick her up, and she absolutely there's no indication that she is in any, you pet her there. I mean, uh, she doesn't flinch, plus her tail is still up in the air. Her ears are, nice and perky up front, which is a sign of happiness. She's rolled onto her back so I could rub her belly, so she's eating, well, it's because she's wonderful. It's basically what it is. My self-actualized CEO / executive producer, but because of pain, that she has been undergoing as well. We both have, seems she may have a temporary disability and I have a disability, and so I completely understand. I feel her pain, actually. I feel the pain that her doctor says she doesn't feel. If I see any being limping and holding one leg up in the air because I don't want to put, that's not nice to look at. That I want to take it all away and I can't. Maybe you, but maybe I can't if I get some, maybe tomorrow. Look for some, don't worry, very high quality. She won't do drops, so they have to be little treats. If anybody has any suggestions for, quality kitty CBD treats, put it in the comments. I would love to know. And also, please like and subscribe if you watch any of these videos. I've heard that liking gets more people to watch, and I do want more people to watch because I think I have an interesting story to tell that might help other people who have done the same or similar, had similar upbringings and are struggling and or healing. So I don't think there's anything wrong with asking or wanting more viewers in that sense, because I'm doing this for me as my video memoir, my It's because I'm going to start talking about 80 stuff in a minute. But I mean, it is for me because it's a creative outlet, but it's a creative and purposeful outlet, meaningful outlet. And I guess those are kind of the same thing. Sorry, I was like, what is that? Okay. I mean, there doesn't have to be a purpose to be creative, but usually when you're creative, there's something behind it. You know what I mean? So I kind of think that all, creative modes of expression are purposeful too, and meaningful. You know. So anyway, if you remember to like and subscribe, that would be wonderful, just to get that message out, and all the other stuff I talk about. My 2 gummies. Oh, once again, off hours. Yeah, I think I can just do it with my one hand. So, off hours, Serenity. I'm not talking loud enough. Off hours Serenity that I get at Housing Works Canada's. Link below. I love them. And I wish I could do, that's what really stinks about having chronic illness, chronic pain, is these rallies, and I want to, something I would really love to do is to organize a homeless, and I know it's going to sound, I guess a rally I should call it, because call it a parade, But you know what I mean, a rally down the, but I mean, I want 1 million people to show up. I don't know if I've ever seen a homeless rally, down the streets, and that's like like the gay rights parade. Well, no, that is different. That is different. So I guess a rally, but like a street rally. So there's a, uh, like other rallies that I'd love to see that people are having. So yeah, I mean, peaceful, but um, but also showing the resistance to what's going on right now. I am always um, happy to see that. But I would love to. So I got to get in. I guess what you need to do for that is to get in touch with, because I would love to work with Housing First. Like I said, Finland. I'm a native Finlander now at this point. As we all know, 0.7% Finnish, so I'm basically a naturalized citizen. Finland, please take me. I will be your spokesperson. That she is so, and all of Finland's qualities are in that 7.7%. That's how powerful Finland's qualities are. That I only have 0.7% of it, and yet it has made me what I consider Finland, what I love so much, of what I know about Finland is that, well, it's a young country. I think I mentioned that before too. But very, and I hate to have to even say the word progressive. It's, but it is. I mean, in the first, so like, we're progressing. We're not regressing. We're moving forward and doing. It shouldn't be progressive for everyone to have shelter, and it shouldn't be progressive. It should be the status quo that everyone has safe, clean shelter and equal access to safe, clean water and healthy, nutritious foods and public transportation, cheap public transportation. Don't let me go off on the MTA right now. I'll save that for another because I don't want to get off on a tangent. But yeah, no, I don't know what's going there because all of a sudden the MTA thing came up and I got, it's like where, now I'm going to have to say it. Now I'm going to forget what I was saying before. But I calculated how much I pay with my Metro card. I still haven't gone to Omni. And I've done a little research on Omni. I think I mentioned this in a video too. I do the Trixie thing. Well, Katya did it too, but I think Trixie did it too. She repeats stories. So in my defense, I'm only doing something that a world famous drag queen does and gets paid handsomely for. I have a slightly more modest, anyway, so I review, and she's not hiring me. So that says something. I'm doing it a long time. Well, she could be. And I have found, when I'm manifesting this, when they have me on their Baldwin Beautiful podcast, I know exactly what I'm getting, bringing both of them as gifts. Because, of course, they're going to have to pay for me to go there because I don't have any money to fly to LA or to stay in LA. Unless, slumber party at Trixie's house. Now, I know Trixie can usually only take people for like 2 hours at her house, but she has had like she gives parties. Her house is big enough, we probably would never even see each other. Except for, because we would do a movie soundtrack marathon where we both get high. We'd listen, or not just a soundtrack, but an album, because you know how I'm into listening to albums of full now. We would, she would smoke a little doobie, I would take my gummies, and we'd be like, and the music would be playing, and then, they'd kick in, and then we'd start no, well, anyway, like I said, the gummies would kick in, we'd put the album on, and you chill and listen to the album in its entirety, and then watch the film, or watch the film that he chose into it. And that's what I really, she would love, and I think Katya would too. But Trixie would love that film, Dogfight, with River Phoenix and oh god, Lily. Shit, Lily. I'm sorry, I said your name the last time I talked about the film. Now I have to look it up again because I can't not say her name because she's equally wonderful in that film, and I think Trixie would, and I know she loves to do that. Oh god. So what was the film I was talking about? Oh, I was talking about Dogfight. Oh, it's such a good. Yeah, I'm making that sound because it's so good. Lily Taylor. Just forgive me for that. That I didn't know their last name was Taylor. And it's directed by a woman. 1991 film. And so I'll just give you. What did it say on the thing? I'll just give you a little what's written on the actual poster for the film, because it's called Dogfight, a Love Story, and above it says the rules of the dogfight are simple. And remember, this is like 1965. The rules of the dogfight are simple. These were guys just getting ready to ship out to Vietnam. Okay, I keep interrupting myself. Oh, my leg feels really bad. What am I going to do? I have to move it somehow. Okay, here we go. We're going to try this again. The rules of the dogfight were simple. Everyone puts in $50, and the guy with the ugliest date wins. That's a pretty unusual premise. Anyway, that would also be my dream, is to have like a slumber party at Trixie's, and we would do that. Or we could do it just long enough to enjoy the high and the album that. And remember, I chose the album to go with that song, to be the freewheeling Bob Dylan, and I think she really did that. She's a folksy, she loves folk and other stuff, but I know she loves folk. And you don't get much more folk than Bob Dylan. So I think that's another dream of mine. Anyway, I'm getting off track because I don't have bad dreams, nightmares very often. When I do, it's usually because I'm overheated, which is why I'm so. But I mean, this summer has been, for some reason, it's been easier. Well, I got a second fan in my room, and so that helped. And ice packs, and I was able to keep myself, I guess, my temperature regulated more, so I wasn't, But anyway, when I woke up, I realized I was sweating. But I also woke up ugly crying and like speaking, like begging my younger half sister to believe me. And so that wasn't a fun way to start the day. I'll write about that. Oh, and I remembered the dream, which doesn't usually happen, but I guess because I woke up ugly crying and saying that, it's stuck in my head a little bit longer. But so it was basically me trying to talk to her, and she's 13 years younger than I am, so she's an adult. I can't, crazy. But she's very adult now too, and it was her adult self, though I haven't seen her, well, since I cut off my dad, because I couldn't no longer go over to, if I couldn't be around him, then I wasn't going to be around his second wife, who, you know, she protected him. She knew, at least, she knew he was a child abuser, and she protected him. And so it wasn't hard to let her go. My dad taught her to treat Jill and me as inferior, and she, it's really interesting. Someone that considers themselves well, but minister's daughter and a lawyer, and works with, to work with the Justice Department, and keep her maiden name, after marriage, for, work. And I know those are all just, that doesn't necessarily mean you're a feminist or whatever, but I definitely felt like she had feminist. She gave off feminist, which, now that I am, well, even before I was away from there, and had removed myself from that, I could sense the kind of the malice in her towards Jill and me. And then, especially me, when I started healing, she did not like me healing, because then I had voice. It helped me find my voice that had been successfully hit and abused out of me, or down inside of me, buried out of fear, constant state of fear. So anyway, I was, and so I didn't want to have to explain to my half siblings. I have a half brother as well, and 13 years younger, and they were taught as well to. Jill, it's weird to. It's gonna sound strange, but we weren't taken seriously as like deserving of unconditional love. I guess it's a strange way of putting it, but that just kind of like popped into my head. So anyway, I felt like, like, how do you tell your half siblings who their father really is? I felt like I couldn't do that to them, but at the same time, I was conflicted, but I could no longer be around them, because to be around them was to be around my dad and my stepmother, who, I remember my friend not too long ago saying, because we were discussing our childhood traumas, and I remember my dear friend saying to me, "You were an inconvenience to your father," and that really, it didn't hurt my feelings at all. But I mean, it was so much like she saw it. Actually, was like, I was actually happy that somebody saw what I was seeing, and she knew. To have someone believe your story, whether it's being because you're raped, or any sort of abuse, or for any reason. Well, when you have CPTSD, it's just sometimes you just get overwhelmed with the urge of trying to convince people that you're a good person and you haven't done anything wrong, and that your story is true. You're trying to convince people all the time. Anyway. So apparently in this dream, I encounter her, and I don't know, some guy who's, I don't know who he represented, but he and she, neither of them were very happy with me at all and what I was saying. I can't remember what they said to me, but they were just really angry and saying terrible, you know, things. I don't know about me, or just, you know, they were not believing me, or or they were choosing not to, you know, they were mad at me for bringing it up or whatever, hating on me. So like I said, I woke up, ugly crying while telling me the truth. And I don't know, I can't remember if she like, because it seemed so like manic, like, and then I guess when I was crying and I was just like trying to explain it, it seemed like she stopped hating on me for a minute and was like listening, and then I woke up. But I can't remember for sure. But anyway, that was not the best, the nicest way to wake up in the morning. But I wrote it all down, and it just shows you how much that stays in your mind. And I know um, it's also dealing not only with that, but I mean that's how long I'm 55 years old, and every day I I'm inundated with thoughts, and I have obviously, you know, submerged thoughts so that because not only have I lost my mother and sister because they are unhealed at this day and time, and I I love them and I can't save them, and I can't be around that unhealed state, and it's a severely unhealed state. Um, I can't do that. But I also lost my two half siblings, whom I loved. Um, I guess I still love them. I mean, I doubt I'll ever see either of them again because I'd have to tell them the truth. Because so that's what I was doing. I was just like, I was keeping things from them, really important things. And that I felt like they ought to know. But then I'm thinking, is it my place to tell them? Like, well, who the fuck? Nobody else is going to tell them, right? We gotta like open these wounds and clean them out and heal them. And anyway, so I had that less than stellar awakening this morning. But then my dear friend called, and we had a lovely. It's always lovely talking to her, but we both talked about our current craziness going on in our lives too, and that's just as important. And we did get some funny words in there said too. Uh, now I've got the word ass crack in my head. High school never changes. And every high school film you will ever see, there'll be one teacher who they call something like, anus head or, or ass crack. And I was reminded of that today during our talk, during our wonderful chat that really just made my day. So thank you for that, Al. I really appreciate that. And I guess indirect thanks to this ass crack person. I don't know if they know or are aware that they're being called ass crack. Anyway, so that was really a lift to my day that has lasted all day. And then I went because I try to I walk in the apartment to get my steps in if I'm not going to go out. And I was going to go out this morning, but then I slept in and had a nightmare instead. And when I say slept in, it was 8:15 when I woke up, when I cried up, woke up crying. And so most people wouldn't consider that really late, but I try to, like I said, I try to keep my sleep routine as close to my weekend sleep routine as close to my weekday sleep routine, because my body's fucked up enough and my mind's fucked up enough. I need some stability there. But having slept in, so let's see, I went to bed at 9:30 last night. So so that's, almost 11 hours of sleep, which I obviously needed. And then, I went to meditate after doing I did my IG, because today, Saturdays, I decided to make my social justice Saturday. So I added to my story about things that relate to social justice and about which I'm passionate. And that'll be my Saturday thing for right now. Who knows if it change to Sultry Saturday or Succotash Saturday. I don't know. But right now, I'm saying anything. And, so I went to meditate. I fell asleep. And slept until, I don't know if I wrote it down. Just I fell asleep during meditation. And, I mean, I probably slept a couple hours more. I know I had sleep marks on my face when I washed my face to put my video, to do my stage, or my film makeup stage. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, so there was that. What else was I going to talk about? Oh, I thought I would talk about this a little bit because I was going to maybe post some things on Instagram about it tomorrow, just because it's Sunday and a lot of people attend church or their practice their religion in a more formal manner or whatever, church, not whatever religion. It's Sunday, and we all know, or at least I grew up. Sunday was you went to church. Next Wednesday you went to church, and coffee hour every. I think they did do coffee hour. This is the old days, folks. And I wasn't going there. But anyway, I never considered myself a Christian. All the years I went to church, I never believed. Well, like when half of your congregation shuns you and your parents get divorced, you're like, this guy is so great. This God is so great. Why are his followers such, if he's so great at his job, why didn't you just make them perfect, Why didn't you make them so that they would be such assholes? And I know it's not just assholes. I understand why a lot of people did. It's very scary when the status quo, when somebody breaks through that status quo, the first person usually feels it's the worst. And then all of a sudden it's like, now we're 50% divorce rate. Nobody gives a shit, But back then it was a big deal. And so as I said, and I grew up going to a Presbyterian church. And when I had moved to DC, like I said, a lot of animal advocacy organizations are headquartered in DC. So, and DC's a smaller city, and plus I was doing therapy and meds, and had been. So it was some of the best, the most living I ever did. There was like 3 years where I felt like I really lived the life I was supposed to be living. At least the things that I was doing, things about which I was passionate. I was writing, and I was getting involved with the vegan community there. I'd hand out flyers, and I went, I'd visit animal sanctuaries, and I also decided, because even though I am not a person of faith, I found of course, and I'm sure it's not the only one, but there are Christian vegan associations, organizations. And there's one called the Christian Vegetarian Association or Society. Anyway, so I kind of, I don't know how I found out about them through, but it must have been in my, because I read a lot of vegan books and I watched a lot of horrible videos that show, and but also some beautiful videos. If you ever see Peaceable Kingdom, it's absolutely wonderful. It's one of my all-time favorites. But so I was very, and I finally had my voice. I was getting my voice back, and so it occurred to me, and I was even on gun at this point, just wanted for some of the time I was in plus therapy and taking extremely good care of myself. I mean, like I said, anyway. So it occurred to me that religions, or I should say the manifestations of those, physical manifestations, these churches, or mosque, or whatever you want, temple, whatever building of worship, your place of worship, that the preachers, the priests, the preachers, the ministers, the pastors, whatever you want to, whatever the head of their congregation, never spoke about animals. Every once you hear about like blessing for the animals, and people bring their companion animals in, and I'm trying not to say pets because I don't like the name pets because it makes they're your companion animals. Well, they were my kids. Mine were my kids, but they're your companions. And just to call them pets, it diminishes who they are in my eyes. They're not a pet. They're family. They're they're a companion, and they will give you more unconditional love, support, solace, and consolation than any member of your family. At least the animals in my life do. I don't know. Oh, so I started reading some books, and I will also post the books that I've read in my Instagram stories and post as well, because even though I wanted to read what these Christian vegans, their reasoning behind it, and their reasoning also included obviously Christianity and what Christianity is supposed to be about, what most faiths I'm assuming are supposed to be about, which is unconditional compassion and mercy to all beings. And I know you can cherry pick a thing here, it's supposed to be kind of whatever, but it's because we wrote it, so we can cherry pick whatever. Well, I didn't write it, I'm a woman, and I'm too young. Yes, I'm not that old. Do I have been called it? That's okay, because I'm still 17 in my head, and not always in a good way. But anyway, so I was like, why aren't churches speaking up for, and why aren't places of worship, why aren't religions speaking up about the plight of non-human animals and animal agriculture? Even some religions still practice live animal sacrifices, and why they're the they make up the vast majority of life on this planet, and they're completely excluded from God's mercy, Christ's mercy, Son of God, but also God, whatever. So God's mercy extends to just a conditional, not everyone on this planet, not the ones we eat and wear and abuse and genetically modify and artificially inseminate, and which is why I'm very passionate about being. I'm an ethical vegan because I see so many parallels, and like I said, I grew up summers spending time at a dairy farm, and it wasn't a huge dairy farm, but it doesn't have to be a huge dairy farm to see the injustice behind, and to see that these female bodies, which is being, they have no choice in the matter. They were chained to their stall and made to be pregnant. Because let me tell you, you have to be lactating, you have to have had a baby, like humans. You have to be pregnant to be lactating. So these animals are constantly impregnated, and their babies are taken away from them, and they're taken to veal farms or it's especially if they're males, because they serve no other purpose. You don't need that many males to inseminate hundreds, thousands, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And so male calves go directly to like rendering, to veal farms, and there's really nothing worse than that. But there is, because if you watch anything about the animal agriculture in this country, and not just this country, this is a fight that animal advocates fight worldwide. Some countries are becoming much more awakened to the plight of animals, and of course there are animal rights organizations worldwide as well, which is why I found out about Vietnam Animal Aid, which is one of the sanctuaries, animal rescues that I support on a yearly basis. So I think I did post a story with a link to and their link is also in the bio here. Any amount of money you can give, even if it's just one time $5, they could. They're just anyway. So they would appreciate it more than you know. I would appreciate it because they have a lot of cats and dogs, which people seem to be more passionate about their welfare. And yes, I'm passionate about their welfare as well. But cows and pigs and turkeys are no less sentient. Or goats or sheep are no less sentient than cats and dogs. We've just been programmed that that's what we're going to eat. That's all it is. We've been told, and we've decided to believe that. And it's been told for so long now. Though actually, well, I'm not good. But anyway, that's the story. So I decided, I'm like, why aren't these churches talking about this? Of course, I know my church never did. Thanksgiving dinner, we'd have a church Thanksgiving dinner. The table would go all the way down the sanctuary, the length of the sanctuary, and it would just have, turkey, and let's give thanks for, whatever. And they even may have said thanks to turkey. Well, the turkey said fuck you. All the turkeys said fuck you. except that turkeys are lovely, and they wouldn't, because I have been around rescue turkeys who have come from horrific circumstances, and when treated with kindness, respect, and love, and they blossom into who they are. So wonderful. And they make this, just listen to, I'm sure Spotify has a playlist of clucking chickens or the lovely sounds that who's I just talking about? That ducks make or that turkeys make. They make lovely little sounds. They're so gentle. I mean, the rooster crows, and that's very loud, but I still love that. What a way to say welcome to day. Do we do that? No. As roosters, I just find that so like life affirming. That this animal, one of trillions who have suffered, has this song in him that he sings every morning. I just think that's delightful. Having said all that, I decided, I'd read these books, Dominion, Matthew Scully, and then Trip York's series of books. One is called A Faith Embracing All Creation. But I read the trio. I think it's a trio of books. And, and the World Peace Diet is wonderful. Will Tuttle, he's probably I know he's here on YouTube. And the World Peace Diet was the first one I read. But so I'd read, An Animal Gospel by Reverend Andrew Lindsay. I recommend all his books, but that one, because I wanted to see the Christian argument for unconditional compassion and mercy towards all life, which means leaving animals off not using animals as food or resources of any kind, except just to let them be their own wild selves and their own self-actualized. Because these animals, if they're not so deadened from, some of them dissociate. It's like CPTSD because their circumstances are so traumatic that they just, right? These are sentient beings, and they live under daily, abuse, as I did. I was meant to be vegan. I feel like I was always meant to be vegan because I see the parallels, especially the female of these species, and what they do to the female of the species. I mean, all of these animals are suffering incredibly, but to rape cows, to keep them pregnant, to take their milk, to give it to humans who don't need it. If you've ever heard a cow crying out for their child who's being taken away from them, it's heart-rending. That's heartbreaking. Anyway, so I decided to go. I was in D.C. and I decided to go to National Presbyterian Church, which is the church, just so happened to be the church that my dad and my stepmother and my half-siblings attended. In fact, they went to the private school there, National Presbyterian School, I think it's called. It's a very grand church. And that was the only church I had been in before, because I had gone to maybe one. I remember being dragged there. I just had my knee replacement surgery. And my stepmother's like, I want all the family to be there. So even though I'm on a walker, I went, and that's the last time I went in that building, except when I made an appointment to speak to the head pastor there. And I don't recall his name. I wonder if I have all like the letters I sent him still. Well, I didn't send him tons of letters. I think I sent him a letter. I reached out in some way to say, could I speak to you about this issue? About, and I mean, he didn't have to, but he did. And I tried to be as, I'm a passionate person. I don't know if you know this about me, but I was trying to stay, calm, cool, and collected, and not get too passionate. But I did bring up the fact that I said I just find it interesting that religions, and that's not counting all, because there are certain religions who are more vegan or vegetarian, Seventh-day Adventists. And I actually remember telling a friend that, because I passed by a Seventh-day Adventist place regularly, and I remember telling her, I said, Seventh-day Adventists are some of the are probably the healthiest people in this country, besides because they basically live a vegan lifestyle, or at least eat a vegan diet, a whole food plant-based diet. So they're considered one of the healthiest groups, and because they feel that non-human animals don't deserve to live their lives as animals the way they believe God intended. Now, I remember my friend saying, yeah, but they only think the earth has been here for 6,000 years. And I'm like, but you know what? It's no crazier than saying some guy made the earth in 7 days, and and his son is also himself, but he's also the Holy Spirit, and Eve came from Adam's rib. If you want to believe the Earth's only been here for 6,000 years, but you know well enough, or you have come to the realization that all sentient beings should be included in your God's and your circle of mercy and compassion. I have found that churches are some of the least compassionate, or let's say the least unconditionally compassionate places there can be. And he gave me what I got from him was, it was a little defensive. He was a guy probably not much older than I was. Well, I was in my 40s at the time, so he may have been, anyway, probably 40s, 50s. And I remember him saying that the church liked to say apolitical. That was one of his excuses. And I said, you're tax exempt, so you're absolutely political every day. My taxes, even though I'm atheist, because I grew up in the Presbyterian church, my taxes pay for this beautiful cathedral that you have, where you don't house any homeless people, and you exclude the vast majority of life from your circle of mercy and circle of compassion. And I think that's a really big omission. And I gave him the books, because I bought those books. I said, I have read these books. I'm an atheist. I've read these books as a Christian. authors and their argument and it's not only compelling, it's very compelling to me as an atheist, but it just makes so much sense if you're coming at it from my idea of what being a follower of Christ is to be. Anyway, so I gave him the books, my books, and asked him if he would. And that was the World Peace Diet. I gave him Animal Gospel. I gave him more of Andrew Lindsay's books, I believe. But I also gave him that trio of books by Trip York, Faith Embracing All Creation. And I can't remember the other two titles, but I will link them below. And I said I would really love to see all life, all beings being represented in your sermons. And not only in your sermons, but in your values, your Christian values. What resulted from that was a program, and I was given no control over this program. Okay, it was a start. A representative from the Humane Society of the United States gave a talk, which was the best part of it. I had issues with HSUS. Anyway, I won't get more into it. But anyway, she gave a pretty decent talk about animal and I think she included animal agriculture, which people just do not want to bring up for obvious reasons, right? I was there too. I remember being near a vegan and being like, ooh, this bacon's really good, because I was scared of thinking about my lack of, of what I somehow deep down knew was right, but was too afraid to do anything about it at the time. And so I took it out on, being passive aggressive and stuff. But anyway, she gave a decent talk. And there were probably about, it's a bit, like I said, if you look up, they're on Instagram, National Presbyterian Church. Their cathedral, it's beautiful, and it seats a large amount of people. And I think they had it in one part of I believe so. Anyway, I can't remember, but there were probably 40 people there, which, I'm happy with that. Could have been one. So it was obviously 30 or 40 people of that church, of that congregation, had at least thought about it, or at least curious about, maybe why. And so I'm really proud of myself, because the second guy he had did like he gave his talk on cockfighting, which, yes, is a horrible, cruel, barbaric. I'm not going to call it a game, because it's not. It's torture, and it's completely and utterly inhumane. I just feel as if in DC, not that cockfighting can't happen in DC, I guess, there were other subjects that could have been spoken about. And I can't remember where this guy was from, but it was probably a place that was funded, at least in part, by the U.S. Cattlemen's Association, because he would not bring up. And I think I even raised my hand and was trying to, get him to talk more. And I could tell that I was because the pastor was there too, and I was irritating him. The rebels you irritate people, because you irritate certain people because they're not ready to hear it. They're not ready to. They lack that awareness, and they're just not ready to hear it. What's really sad is that it's a pastor of a beautiful and probably very expensive to maintain church plus private school, um, with probably a pretty elite, I'm not going to say 100%, but probably the average yearly income for the people that go to that church is probably pretty high. And so and those are the people a lot of times you have to reach, right? Because I mean, the animal agriculture lobby is the most powerful lobby on Wall Street for a reason, because they have the most money. So if it got some people, and like I said, this was 10 years ago, and then my life kind of fell apart after that. I had to declare bankruptcy and all that kind of stuff. But I'm very proud of myself for having done that. And I wish I had the energy to do that more often, or to do that again. But I thought I would, because I did get some Christian Vegetarian Society flyers, and I thought maybe I would pen just a short, polite, kind, letter to the pastor or to the head of the religious leader of the different religious denominations in the city, and just send those to him. And that could be my way of doing it as someone with with a debilitating chronic illness who works full time and just doesn't have the energy to do that. But I thought maybe that could be a start. And there are organizations, allcreatures.org. I'll put them down below, link them down below. And there's another one whose name I can't remember right now. But they do, there is scholarship out there, and religious scholarship out there, for abstaining from using animals for food for any reason, and especially for supporting the current animal agriculture system. So anyway, I was really proud of myself, and I wish I had those books. Except that I'm so glad I gave them to him, because at least he had to look at the covers. Who knows? Maybe he read one, or maybe somebody in his office saw it and read it. You never know. I would love to have those in my possession again. So I'll see if I can maybe go to a used bookstore and see if I can find the money, because I would like these authors to get money for writing very important books, I believe. But I'm also on a budget, so I may have to buy used. But then that's easier to hand to friends, and then if somebody's interested, I can say, oh, I have this copy, let's borrow it, and then I can get another used copy. See? So, circular economy. Listen to some Charles Eisenstein. Gift economy. I'm all for it. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that tonight. And I think I'm going to watch more of... Oh, I wonder if there's a new Trixie and Katya I like to watch. Damn, I haven't checked it. I hope there is. Feels like they haven't done that in a while. Oh, they did Adam Sandler movie before. As you could tell, I don't know, I was surprised that Trixie was an Adam Sandler. I mean, he's a wonderful guy, and I think I mentioned this in the previous video, so I haven't been, I don't watch American movies that much anymore anyway. So I'm going to wrap it up tonight. I have to eat something. I haven't eaten anything all day. And look at my shoulders. I have to keep relaxing them. But, I need to eat something. And get this out here to you guys soon. And again, thanks for all the love for our CEO. I can hear her reading in the other room. And she was up here earlier, she saw. So, Let's hope she heals in the next 2 to 4 weeks, Mr. Vet. Okay, peace out.